Can you see me now, my presentation?
Yes, sir, we can see it clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, the technology part is on the side, so thank you for having me this morning. And this morning, I was listening to Sir J.P. Herrera from yesterday's session, and then I could learn a lot that you have covered a lot of topics that were I was going to talk also, but that makes my life a bit easier as well. So let me quickly go through the presentation uh, just to kickstart our uh, what we heard yesterday and what the education sustainable development is all about, and and what we as educators we can do. So why education for sustainable development? One of the reasons is that uh, it's it's not. Is the screen moving at your end?
Not yet, sir.
They're seriously having technical problems. Is it moving now?
Yes, sir. It has moved already. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Why education for sustainable development? From your conversations yesterday and the presentation about the situation of SDGs, the progress with SDGs in the Philippines, you could see that even though we have set up the target for 2030, a lot needs to be done. And education for sustainable development is an urgent call for action. It's we are knowing that what we believe in, what we need to do, what we have been doing, we need to seriously change. What we have learned so far has is not preparing us for the future very well for the future. There are challenges, as we saw with the pandemic. We are seeing with the climate change now. I think as educators, and I myself, I'm struggling with the emergence of AI and how we integrate that into day-to-day living, day-to-day teaching and learning, and this has to change. So we really need to learn to live differently, and this is a response for education for sustainable development is the response for this need for change. But before going into ESD and what we need to do, let's understand. Let's recap our understanding about sustainable development. What sustainable development means, and the definition we have come across as of now. The best definition that I personally like is the Brundtland definition, which is about meeting the present needs, but without compromising the future generations' needs. So why I like this about this definition is it talks about the future, our current intragenerational responsibility, like global citizenship, learning to live together, learning to share, collaborate, but then the future generations, which means intergenerational responsibility, meaning that we are, no matter what age, where we are, who we are, all the ages have a responsibility towards the future. So all we need to work together. So this is the sustainable development understanding. From UNESCO side, what UNESCO has done until now, so very quickly, is that if you look at the movement in sustainable development action on the move, we there are landmarks. The landmarks Earth Summit 1992, which led to Agenda 21. Very focused on environmental education. then we had the Johannesburg Summit in 2002, which led to the declaration of UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development, which was 2005-2014. And then there was Global Action Program on ESG from 2015 to 2019. So these are the numbers. I will not go into these numbers. You will be able to see these, but there's quite a lot of action that is happening around ESD, has been happening around ESD as these decades were being implemented. Now, so in order to move forward, after the 2015-2019 Global Action Program, what UNESCO did was UNESCO launched the Education for Sustainable Development, a roadmap. And this is a roadmap which is basically to integrate and educational aspect, mobilizing education as a tool to achieve the 17 SDGs. Education becoming the central pillar. So that's what UNESCO as lead agency were promoting towards. And this ESD aspect is also very clearly articulated in SDG 4.7. If you let me take you the SDG 4.7. What's up? But the 4.7 is to ensure that ESD is integrated and all the learners have the knowledge, have the capacity and skills to promote sustainable development, sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, all encompassing all that contributes to sustainable development. So this is a clearly articulated target for which all the member states have signed up to. So this is the tool, this is the target that UNESCO uses to nudge partners, member states, stakeholders for action towards sustainable development, global citizenship. So, what does EST for 2030 that we are discussing about this roadmap aim to do? The aim of the EST for 2030 roadmap is to achieve sustainable development goals. And the objective is to fully integrate ESD and 17 SDGs into policies, learning environment, capacity building of educators, empowerment and mobilization of young people at the global and also at the local level for actions, undertake actions. So if we look at it, this calls for, if we look for specific target groups, we can say. Those 4 target groups, you can see governments' main role is to mainstream ESD in their education policies, frameworks, and then the educators. We have the role of educators is to help transform the education, deliver the learning. Learners, they need to have the opportunities so that they can learn about all the sustainable development issues, learn about 17 SDGs that we discussed yesterday. Then the young people, I mean, they are the, as we said, sometimes young people don't like when we say they are the future because they say that they're also the present. So young people, of course, they are present. Also, their actions are much needed. And then people living in all walks of life, cities, communities across. So these are the 4 clear for clear stakeholders who would be capacitated by 2030 to drive sustainable development change through ESD. Now let us go into priority actions what we can look at through ESD to advance sustainability through ESD. The priority actions are, of course, one is policy, looking at the government policy making, getting all the policies are correct and for geared towards sustainability. Second area is for for learning environments, which is to enabling learning environments so that they are providing a, a, a enabling environment for learners to learn about sustainability, what they how they acquire that knowledge, and that will to enable learners to acquire that knowledge. The priority action is the educators. I mean, without we can have beautiful classrooms, beautiful curriculum, beautiful settings, but without well-trained, well-capacitated, well-supported educators, action will we will not realize the goals that we are aiming for. As we already talked about, we need to mobilize and empower young people, youth, and then the priority action at the at the at the local action at the local and levels and with different partners. Uh, so what with this, let's go into what education sustainable development is quickly about. The ESD. You have already talked about it, I believe, yesterday a lot. So this is just a recap. So ESD introduces content and knowledge about sustainable development issues, just to what to know. What the one part of ESD is. The second part of ESD is moves towards understanding that one part is understanding what ESD is. Second part is realizing, as we discussed earlier, realizing that our current actions are not sustainable. And then the third part is education, making education as the part of sustainable development that is leading the change process. So this is the overall what ESD does. Um, and ESD is also balancing about the tensions. You know, as we speak, we are going through a lot of geopolitical, global, economic, social transformations, and that these create tensions at the global level, at the local level. Issues between universal values and individual values, tradition, modernity, short term, long term, competition versus cooperation, spiritual and material. So these are a lot of tensions that education faces. So ESD helps us also to balance these tensions. And yes, so in balancing these tensions, so ESD is the enabling curriculum framework, educational framework that focuses on being learner-centered, inquiry-based, participatory, learning on experiences, look considering the futures, possible futures, and looking at multidisciplinary approach, interdisciplinary approach to the futures problem solving. So these are the aspects of ESD as a enabling education curriculum framework. Now we can have, as we said, we can have a framework, but it requires teachers, educators to be the facilitators of learning. And because, as we say, and the learning, as we all know, as educators, happens in different manner, different ways. Students learn differently. Some learn through participatory exposition exhibitions, some learn through storytelling, some by hearing outside speakers, some would having debates and field work and group discussion. So this is where the ESD requires teachers to be the facilitators of learning, not the teachers, but ones who are participating in learning, facilitating the learning process. And this, again, these are some of the areas that the teachers as facilitators of learning can look into inquiry-based analysis of existing pictures and simulation, role play, and most important about on the effects addressing the climate change and school community driven projects. Now, I'm going to go quickly into this greening education as a concrete example of ESD in action. And Greening Education Partnership is the partnership started by UNESCO as a response to SDG 4.7, and also the response based on UNESCO's survey, which says that 70% of young people say they are not ready based on their education. And as we speak, over in 100 countries, almost 47%, almost half of the curriculum doesn't even mention about climate change. And climate change, we're talking about as an existential threat as we speak. So responding to these challenges, this response to of the young people, UNESCO started Greening Education Partnership. Oops. Can you still see me?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. But I think the presentation,
Presentation disappeared?
yes.
Okay, let me, while I try and fix this as we speak, let me continue to, what happened this? UNESCO launched a Greening Education Partnership, which focuses on, is it now with you?
Now we see it. Thank you.
It's here? Okay. Um, so it is, we started the Greening Education Partnership and also came up with the educational guide, to curriculum guide to 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 help support the countries to address mm, the educational challenges and orienting education systems into to address the climate change and through the grading curriculum guidance. It focuses on mainly the 6 areas and with climate science, ecosystems, climate justice, resilience building, sustainable lifestyles, and post carbon economy. And you can see they are grouped around environmental, social, and economic sectors. So environmental science is all about climate science and ecosystems and biodiversity. Social side would be the climate justice and resilience building, capacity building, and post-carbon economy and sustainable lifestyles would be in the economic side. And I was going through the Philippines presentation on SDG progress, and I saw that Philippines is doing really well on sustainable lifestyles, and it is moving. It is likely to achieve that SDG goal, but at the same time, the other areas they seem to be still a lot of work needs to be still needs to be done. So this is the six key concepts, and these are the principles which are proposed in the Canadian curriculum guidance to take into formal, non-formal, and informal education settings. And these are more looking at the action oriented towards empowering, learner-centered, career-related. Then there are justice and justice promoting, then quality content, which we are delivering through education systems. That quality has to be balanced, not overly influenced by one particular area, not overly influenced by, let's say, economic aspects, but it also needs to bring in all economic, social, cultural aspects into the content. and it needs to be, of course, age while conveying urgency, it also needs to be sort of relevant to the specific age groups so that they are able to process and understand, comprehend well. Now, uh, so let me take you to the next slide just to say how a concrete example on setting the strategies. So basically, what to learn, how to learn, and where to learn. And I think we as educators, I think we have also heard in the past UNESCO's 4 pillars of learning. If just to refresh our memory, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. So those, so I mean, this provides us clearly on the greening curriculum guidance on what to learn, how do we address the cognitive, social, emotional learning, and how do we take action in contextualized manner, right? And how to learn, where do we get this information? With so much information floating around now, how to learn, how to discern, how to differentiate between what is noise and what is knowledge, I mean, typical, I don't like the term fake news, but a lot of misinformation, disinformation is floating around, and where to learn. And education doesn't just happen in classrooms, it happens across. So where to learn, for example, in schools, communities, UNESCO has designated World Heritage Sites, Natural Heritage Sites, and then of course the movements. And so these are the strategies for greening education. Now, so if we had to implement as educators, I mean, these are big things, but concretely, what could we do? So how could we implement? So this is an example. So if you look at it, there's a concept, there's a topic, key idea. Then we are proposing that there are each, as we educators, we know that we have expected learning outcomes. These are cognitive, social, emotional, behavioral, and as we were saying, the education learning needs to be age relevant. So the guidance provides um suggestions for 5 to 8 years. That's early pre-primary, 9 to 12 years primary, third mid-primary, secondary, and tertiary education. That's what it provides. So one quick example. Let's say, right, this is for 5 to 8 year age group. Um, since we're talking about climate, so it's about climate science. Within climate, what do we learn? We learn about water cycle. And key idea for 5 to 8 years to understand is what is important for humans and animals and plants. So this is where the 5 to 8 years, this is how the difference. The cognitive part would be they would be able to explain about water, water's composition in our body. Social and emotional would be the through a water-related story, developing skills, problem-solving skills, and taking care of water. Behavioral would be to have watering plans, conservation, utilization, filtration, etc. So this is a typical example of how we could take this forward for the 5 to 8 years. Similarly, we could look at this is climate. We're talking about young people are really anxious about climate change, the future, what's happening. So similarly, the example for of 16 to 18 years would be the climate anxiety and constructive coping, right? On each side, the cognitive side, what they would be able to learn is to describe the climate anxiety, what are its causes, manifestations, various emotions, guilt that they are going through, their concerns they're going through, and where are they getting these from? So this is the cognitive side. And the social emotional would be the empathy part, and sharing this with other people, other young people just like them, other students in the classroom, and developing a shared sense of hope and understanding that they're not alone. There are possible areas where they can come together, create actions, and participate in events to address those issues. So these are few examples we as educators we could implement in our classroom, in our learning setting, teaching and learning settings, to address uh, the climate change aspects. So how do we integrate? I think this next slide is we are very much aware of the curriculum integration of ideas, things sorry into the curriculum. So let me not take you through, walk you through. You can go through this as this in the slide. Um, So overall, these would be for the 5 to 8 years, different examples on climate science, eco sciences, climate justice, resilience building. So these are for 5 to 8 years, and what are the learning outcomes? Which subjects could be utilized, since ESD is about multidisciplinary into. So these aspects could be taught. Teaching and learning could be through uh, environmental studies, social studies, languages, art class, music class, health, uh, and different approaches the teachers as facilitators of learning could utilize. So to cap it all, we have talked a lot. To cap it all, I would say that let's go back to the 5 priority action areas that we talked earlier to implement ESD. First and foremost, the policy. Policy needs to be right. Policy needs to be enabling. Policy needs to be supportive, and policy needs to be backed up by uh, sufficient resources to implement. The learning environments need to be enabling, and where the learners can come and learn freely, express them, participate in learning processes. All this will not be possible without the well-capacitated, well-trained, well-supported teachers, educators. So the continuous training and continuous professional development of educators is very important, and I'm really happy to see that this seminar, this things taking place with San Tomas University. So this is really encouraging, a good example. And of course, empowering youth and actions at the community level, different levels are very important and needs to be continued. So why we are doing this? Let me bring in my big boss, our ADG, Stefania Giannini. I think some of you have already heard. Why we are doing this? We are increasingly asking if what people learn is truly relevant to their lives. This is a question everybody asking. If what they learn helps to ensure the survival of our planet. And to respond to this is education for sustainable development that can provide knowledge, awareness, action to transform ourselves, others, and transform societies so that we all can live happily in harmony with nature. And so thank you for listening to me. I think I was rushing through, but I will be happy to provide clarification if needed. Thank you very much. Let me stop there.